What's up, everybody? Shawn P. Greene on the Shawn P. Greene Show. I'm live right now on my Facebook, my YouTube, and my Twitch, and I am sporting the Buffalo Bills jersey today because I have a guest that's on standby today. Can you hear me? Okay. I don't hear you right now, but I'll get you on in a second. So turn your mic on if you could. Today I have a special guest who's a former Buffalonian, and the reason why I wanted to interview him is because there's several common threads with him in my world when it comes to church culture. And he's a South Buffalo person, went to a South Buffalo school, participated in many South Buffalo churches, one specifically that I'm attending now. But I want to bring on my special guest. His name is Greg Carr. So, is your mic? Yes, you got your mic on. Good.
My mic is on, Shawn.
Sweet.
I noticed I was in the green room. So
yes. Yes, sir. So, it's appropriately named the Shawn P. Greene Show.
It really is.
So here's the scoop. I've been doing podcasts in the past under this show name, and I haven't done a whole lot in 2024. But I usually like to do as a special event for interviews when I can, and I just for whatever reason, I was inspired to ask you to be my guest this time around because I'm going to a Bible study. It's a men's Bible study on a Monday night that you were a part of years before, even before my current fellowship. So before we get into that history of these churches, where are you right now?
I am in Annapolis, Maryland. I've been here since '86. Currently a discipleship pastor at Bridge Church, Annapolis.
Okay, so how long you been in that area now?
In Annapolis, we've been here 23 years.
Wow, so that's been quite a while since you left the Western New York.
Well, I actually left Western New York in 1981. Went to Denver, was in Denver for 5 years, and then came here in '86.
So what drew you to Denver?
An invitation to start a Bible school and come on pastoral staff at the Happy Church with Wally and Marilyn Hickey.
Oh, very cool. So you've worked with their ministry for how many years then before?
5 years.
5 years. And then what did you glean from that?
Well, when when I went there, it was right in the middle of the Mile High Conference, which brings in all these guest speakers. There's probably about 2,500 people that attend for 3 or 4 days. So I hit the pavement with my Adidas sprinting shoes on, and but learned all kinds of things, mostly on the fly. I'd never started a Bible school before, and but it was to say it was educational is not enough. I got to meet some really wonderful people within the church. We'd have guest speakers like Pastor Tommy has out at the Tabernacle, and I really got an appreciation of the full-orbed aspect of ministry, the organizational, relational, and then, of course, the anointing. A lot of prayer, a lot of intercessory prayer. We used to go Friday nights from 4 p.m. till 6 a.m. every Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's pretty intense
Very intense.
Introduction to intercessory prayer.
Yes, indeed.
So, sidebar as far as that, I see I'm sporting my Buffalo Bills gear, and I know you're a true blue. You know what I mean? You no matter where you go, I see all the pictures on your Facebook page, all your Western New York apparel, Buffalo
Hey,
Bills.
is it appropriate, Shawn, to give a pop quiz for you right now concerning the Bills?
I mean, you can give it. I mean, I'm not like the most.
This is well, I don't know what the difficulty. Who was the Bills' first draft choice?
In 1960?
Yeah.
Wow. Cookie Gilchrist? I'm just taking a guess.
You're taking a guess. Good. That's a good guess. Cookie, looky, here comes Cookie.
Yeah.
No, it was Richie Lucas out of Penn State. He was a quarterback, wound up playing cornerback, so he didn't last real long at quarterback. But for some reason, that always, when I find devout Bill fans, I always ask them, who was the first draft choice? And you'll never forget it, Shawn.
That's a fun fact because I never really dug that deep into the historical aspect. Yeah. I mean, I knew the bigger names during the 60s, Jack Kemp, Cookie Gilchrist, those were the bigger ones.
Yeah, Tom Sustak, Paul McGuire.
Even a Michael Stratton was involved in the
Michael
days.
Stratton. I used to joke with Mike all the time. I said, dude, you look bigger on the field, man.
I'm sure he got that a lot.
He did.
So, in context, Michael Stratton is the current lead pastor of a church that I attend called the Bread of Life Church in South Buffalo. And one of the original people, actually, probably I think 77, I did a podcast with my church, and I called it the Bread Unlimited podcast. So we did several interviews of first our members, some of our leaders, and some people that are from other parts of Western New York. Even Woody Woodson was on that interview. So we did. I still have plans to continue doing that podcast eventually, but before I do that, and I want to get you on that one as well, that platform. Sure. But I wanted to do one more relational. I mean, I kind of do that anyways, but a little less focused on just one church focus, but I want to know more about your ties to Western New York, your experiences while you were here, and some of the things that you built along the way before you left for Denver. And one more side note question. So when you're in Denver, how much slack did you get for wearing Bills gear?
Well,
especially in the 90s, 80s and 90s.
I got there just a little bit before Dan Reeves. Now, actually, Dan Reeves came as the coach. Elway got drafted in '83, and the first time the Broncos played the Bills, in the morning service, I was doing the announcements, and I, being my effervescent self, said, I just got to tell you, Bronco fans, that you're going to lose today. And I'm giving you my condolences ahead of time. And I'm telling you, Shawn, not one smile, not one, not one, nothing. I went,
and just nothing but animosity, right?
That was a lesson learned. Well, coming back at the 6:00 service, the Bills, in fact, it was Jeff Yates. I played high school ball against Jeff Yates when he was at O'Hara. I was at Bishop Timon. Jeff Yates broke through and blocked the last-second field goal, and the Bills won 9-7.
Nice. Not so nice for your friends, though, I'm sure.
When I came back, there's a few hundred people at the 6:00 service. They were not happy. And I thought, okay,
it's an understatement.
We won't be talking football anymore.
No, this is an open forum. We're not really pressuring anybody
was
for a
fun.
specific topic. I got some lead-in questions here and there, but
Sure, sure.
we're just having a conversation. So now also 5 years in Denver, you went to Maryland, so that Annapolis is really Navy country.
It
You get a
sure
lot
is.
of do you have a lot of people from the Navy that are a part of the ministries that you work with out there?
We we've had at different times because it's transient. We do have an '82 graduate, Rich Langford, just a super guy. He's got a super important job at Microsoft here. There's a lot of computer security. I have to give a shout out to my granddaughter, who's been in for almost 2 years, and she just got promoted to petty officer, third rank.
Oh, very nice. I seen that.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you? Yeah. So, and I have the Navy golf course right in my backyard,
Hmm.
and so I see the plebes, midshipmen running down here all the time. And it's I get the national anthem every morning, and then I get colors at the retiring of the flag at sunset every day, which is really cool.
I'm a
And
former Navy, so
I
I have
saw that. I
I have
saw that.
interest in that. I wasn't
Yeah.
a an officer. I definitely was an officer material when I was 18, but um, yeah, did my 4 years on the West Coast in San Diego. But
Nice.
I would have liked to have experienced the East Coast, a little bit more. But
Sure.
you know, water under the bridge at this point.
Yeah.
So you have so she's in what? She's in also Annapolis right now, or
No, no,
Westport?
she is in Honolulu.
Oh, Honolulu. Okay.
She is in cryptology,
Mm,
and I guess that's all I should say about it.
good enough. Yes.
Yeah, good. Enough said. I don't want to
She's
get her
in
in
one
trouble.
of she's in one of the secret bunkers that nobody knows
She,
about.
I told her, give me any alerts. If, give me a heads up if this stuff happens. So,
So let's get back to go to the genesis of where you were born and how you were raised up.
well,
Preteen.
yeah, born and raised in South Buffalo on Hanson Street, right off at Downing. Goes between Downing and Dorrance. In fact, Mayor Griffin used to live down the end of the street on Dorrance, and went to St. Martin's School for 8 years, Roman Catholic grammar school. Then went to Bishop Timon for 4, and got married right out of high school, which I would not recommend to anyone. But God, in His mercy, He used our marriage to bring me to the place of brokenness after 5 years of putting my wife through a living hell. A fellow witnessed to me one night. I was watching a Buffalo Braves basketball game, and he just asked me if I'd ever accepted Jesus. And I never had anybody ask me that in my whole life. And anyhow, 3 weeks later, I was at a home Bible study. Gary and Barb Becker, out in West Seneca, and Peggy and I accepted the Lord on January 15th of 1975.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you started off. How many years into your marriage? You said
5.
okay.
We were
Oh,
separated
that's
3
good.
times in 5 years, and
Wow.
and when that brother shared that with me, I just came home. I got home around 2 o'clock, and I just cried out to God. First time ever that I just talked to Him. I was used to, designated prayers at appropriate times, but I just said, God, can you help me? Can you please help me? And He did.
That's all it takes usually.
It really, yeah. I didn't have any. I never thought about opening a Bible, which was a little strange, but I didn't know what to do. So 3 weeks later, Pat and Peggy Conley came to our house, and we followed them out to Gary Becker's out in West Seneca.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And so you were starting with that ministry initially, but then you also somehow you discovered this other church. Now, I'll give you a little bit of my history. When I was born in 71, my father and my mother, they both had different backgrounds. My mother came from a Catholic family. My father came from Episcopal, and they were very much, not religious really. Being they're the youngest, they're not as, you know, active in religious work activity or anything. My father was a Vietnam vet, but my mother, and I'm trying to remember when. My mother, if she's watching, she can help. But my mother stepped in her foot into the harvesters.
Uh-huh.
And then the harvesters is, I think at that time it was out in Clarence. Um, Pastor Dean Coral was the one that
Right.
took it over from a guy named Fred Reynolds, as far as I
Right.
know.
Yep.
So now let's get to the harvesters, because when I was a kid, I went from a Central Baptist college or school, Center Road Baptist School, or whatever it was.
I know right where that was. Yep.
So first kindergarten into first grade, and then they started the school at the Harvesters, and so from second till eighth, I was there.
Okay.
So 86 was the last year that they did it. So
Yeah, right.
that's my kind of like introduction to this ministry called the Harvesters.
Yeah, that
Now,
was on 16 Seneca Street in Transit, right?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So it's currently there again. It was a coffee house when I had started attending it. So they moved it from Clarence to Seneca and Transit in West Seneca, and it still exists today within that capacity. Still have Bible studies, and they still have fellowship.
That's great.
And there's always it's very interesting, because I've been there when new people come all the time. They come and go, but they get saved, before they leave.
That was Dean Charlie Senior, I guess, was I never have seen anyone be as hungry as he was to win souls, and actually do it. Not just he had a way of being aggressive but gentle, and it was really good for me to watch as a young person, because Gary and Barb Becker and Pat and Peggy played in a worship band, I guess, worship team called the Lord's Marionettes. And they sang at the Harvesters on their evening Bible studies. I can't remember. I think it was Friday nights, maybe Saturday night, either one of those. And occasionally out in the church. I think the Sunday service was in the afternoon in Colesville, if I'm not mistaken. But Peggy and I wound up joining that later that year in 75, joining the Lord's Marionettes. So we used to do worship there in 75.
So that's when you started attending there.
Yep.
And you were part of the leadership in any way, or?
No, I was a baby Christian, young guy, 23 years old. I used to love when Charlie would, a lot of times we'd have just let the Lord lead who was going to speak. And some nights, Fred Reynolds would get up. Fred was
I'd like to know more about him, because I didn't know him.
Oh gosh, Fred was a fireball, and he went through the whole Voice of Healing. He really knew a lot about William Branham, and Jack Coe, and the list goes on with the He reminded me of Oral Roberts. He sold RVs out in West Seneca, and he and Charlie would like tag team, and sometimes they do it together. And this is my introduction. You know, I hit the fire right away, and I remember Fred prayed for me for the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and gosh, that was, that's a deal changer. And so that was, and his wife was she was just lovely, a lovely lady, and as well as Charlie's and young Charlie.
Yes.
And when I talked to you last week or so, you jogged my memory of a lot of names that a lot of great people that just simply loved the Lord. They wanted no frills or thrills. They just wanted people to know Jesus and disciple them in the Lord, to be followers, to be wholehearted followers. That was their intention. And I'm sure it still is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And, interesting. My mother was transformed by that fellowship to the point where she was a soul winner, so
Nice.
she used to really just tell everybody when she was younger, and, nobody lived a perfect life, but she still had that desire to win souls, and that was the Harvesters that was the focus,
That was the focus. Yep.
And I appreciate the time I was there when I was younger, learned a lot. And I stayed there till 86. I was eighth grade. That would have put me at like 13 years old. And I just felt like I've never been in public school. So I went to West Seneca West to kind of finish my time. And then I left for 21 years. But then I came back in 2010 to reconnect.
Nice.
And so I started started hanging out with Harvesters.
Yeah.
Kind of seen, I was settled in in South Buffalo again. And I just felt like, okay, where do you want me to fellowship?
Right.
And asking God, where to go. And for whatever reason, God told me to go to the Bread of Life Church in South Buffalo, right on South Park.
Yeah.
And so, but I still was fellowshipping with other churches and other people. And I would stop in every now and then on a men's Bible study at the Harvesters. And, but God just told me to go to the Bread. And so now tell me your time at the Harvesters up until the Bread of Life. What was going on?
By the new year of 76, I don't remember why exactly, but we weren't going anywhere. We moved to the First Ward, so it was sort of a jaunt. But Peggy and I went to hear Jerry Savelle. Jerry Savelle, who just went home to be with the Lord not too long ago.
Yep.
At the Regency Hotel in Blaisdell. I don't think it's there now. In February of 76. And we went to, he had 5 days of meetings. Russell Taff was his worship leader. And I'm still a baby Christian. I didn't know I didn't know Kenneth Copeland or Kenneth Hagin or I didn't know anybody. And I told Russell Taff, I said, "Man, you're good. You ought to make an album or something," because he brought us to a new level a new depth of worship. But at the end of that week, we had a home Bible study. That's what we were doing. We were doing our own home Bible study, really not attached anywhere. And we'd have 4 people just sitting around the kitchen table reading. Well, after Jerry Savelle, the 4 went to 8. The 8 went to 16. The 16 went to 25. And it just got our apartment down in the ward. I said, who's got a bigger house than this? And so we kept going to bigger houses. And that's how we wound up at Lucy and Dominic's at the Japanis, and another Jim and Barb Kwiatkowski out in West Seneca. we would just do a Thursday night and a Saturday night. Well, it got so big we got to rent a building, and that's how the Bread of Life started. We didn't know what to do. We started looking around. Dom and Lucy lived on Good Street. There was a church right across the street from us. I said, can we use that? I had no clue. All I knew is we had a bunch of people. And so we wound up at 1638 South Park, which is right down where Folger, South Park and Folger, was the very first Bread of Life. And on July 7th, 1977, there were 7 of us in the Bread, where we became officially the Bread of Life Center, where Jesus is Lord. And that was the day. And we would have Friday night meetings and Saturday night coffee house.
7-7-7-7. How about that?
7 at 7 p.m.
That's great.
When you're young in the Lord, those sevens is like
sure. It pops out.
They buoyed me right up.
It was a divine moment. That's for sure.
We realized that, and then when Marilyn called in '81, she called in May of '81 to invite Peggy and I to come to move to Denver with our 4 kids and our dog, and we did. So I handed off the baton to Dom and Lucy, and they became the leaders of it. And then in '82, went from being the Bread of Life Center, incorporated, 501c3, to a church. So it became the Bread of Life Church, where Jesus is Lord. And the bread, where the bread is right now, used to be the Villa Pizzeria.
Yep.
And that's where I
get a lot of stories from the locals about that. Yeah.
That's where I met Peggy. They used to have a band there that sounded exactly like Blood, Sweat, and Tears back in the day, which I really love that band. And when we were there to dedicate it in '82, we came back from Denver. I pointed over. I said, right over there. I was dancing with my wife, and I met her. And a few months later, we were married. So
yeah, I get a lot of stories of people. Yeah, I used to drink there, or I used to eat, order pizza there and all that stuff. I mean, I get all the stories from the South Buffalo people.
Great pizza.
That was a hangout. Yes.
Great pizza.
Wow.
But they totally, and then they had the school. Dom and Lucy, we really, all of us got the baptism of fire there. We because of the number of people. I had Tommy Reed was our first speaker in June 25 of '77. He was our first speaker. We didn't have any chairs. People had to bring their own chairs.
Nice.
And so he took. I texted him a little bit. Actually, I texted him in July, and I said, Pastor, you were the first preacher there, and you're the first one to take up an offering. And he said, yeah, and you got the chairs too. I said, yeah, we got the chairs.
That's great.
And wow. So that's the overview of that. And then we went to Denver, got invited to come here. It's interesting because Marilyn calls Pastor Tommy Reed and asks him, can I invite Greg and Peggy to move here? He said, sure. And Pastor Tommy's teaching with Marilyn in Philadelphia at a big Marilyn used to put on these conferences, 5,000-6,000 people. And some people from Maryland went there, and Pastor was talking about home groups. And they said, do you know anyone that can come and candidate here to pastor us? Our pastor just resigned. And he said, sure. So he asked Marilyn to, can I give them Greg's number? So I kid around with the both of them. I said, "You two were responsible for moving me back and forth across the country." And but it was we came here in '86. We were in a school for 3 years, and then built a building. And I retired from that post in 2018, October of 2018. And now I'm here at Bridge Church. Uh, I wasn't sure if I was going to get back in the saddle in the sense of uh, official ministry. I always do ministry and home Bible studies, but um, it's great. We're just seeing God do some wonderful things here.
Hmm. So it seems like you've had quite an adventure. I mean,
It has been. I'm telling you, Shawn. When our graduation night, I think it was June 23rd of 70 at Timon.
hmm.
I remember sitting there, and I heard this voice on the inside say, "You're going to be speaking like that person is up there to a crowd." I didn't know what that meant. I wanted to be. I was an athlete. I wanted to play some kind of sports. I didn't know if I was going to be a sports, a Van Miller. I didn't know what I was going to do,
Hmm.
but I did not think I would ever be a preacher, ever.
Hmm.
And in fact, when I accepted the Lord, my buddies, they were just as shocked as I was, because I
That's
was
cool.
I was a little rascal. That's all I'm going to disclose.
You're from South Buffalo. I understand that.
You understand my DNA, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Love
So,
it.
man, that's amazing. Let's get back to a little bit of harvesters now.
Yeah, sure,
The current people right now, Mike Maluski, I believe he's been the CEO now since Charlie passed.
Uh-huh.
And I still had a lot of interaction with Charlie before he passed. I was living in Florida for 12 years. My father was really good friends with him. I don't know if you remember Bobby Greene or not, but he was a clown. He was kind of, he kind of challenged the buck the
status
system,
quo.
so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, he would nickname Charlie different nicknames. So Pastor Coffee, Pastor Yoda, um, some like Brother Slime, he would call him in front of the ones that were trying to, be his armor bearer, so to speak. And so they're all offended by that, So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
father was a little unique when it came to those types of positions. But Charlie was funny, he was funny like that. Like he enjoyed
No.
real people. You know what I mean? That's one thing about
He
him.
liked being real, and he came out of some wild demonic stuff.
I know.
He
I
knew
heard.
all about getting into all that supernatural stuff,
Hmm.
and he could recognize a witch or somebody just like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have part of that DNA too because of the spiritual awareness, so to speak, and I think I've had that most of my life. So it's possible that that's where I got some of that from.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Very, very much possible.
but I tell you what, it's very difficult to talk to a normal person who doesn't have that kind of a thing.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Spiritual awareness that's pretty deep and pretty dark and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so I have to say, there's some people that says, don't share too much with too many people because they don't get it.
Right.
But when you're on the street and you're witnessing, which I still do, you recognize certain spirits and you
Sure.
approach them and you let them know that you're aware of them and they manifest sometimes, but a normal person wouldn't know how to deal with that.
Right.
So I
Correct.
guess I'm not normal, but so I think one thing that Dean has passed on was that kind of spiritual awareness,
Yeah.
discernment, um, you know, a really deep understanding of the word. Even like last 2 years, I've been on this trek of just digging in the word, and the Lord's been just blowing my mind with knowledge. Just like wow, just stuff. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and it's just amazing. That's all I gotta say is like my relationship with the Lord has grown so much more in the last 2 years. And do you know what spurred that off was the I took a trek to the Adirondacks a couple years ago, and 6 hour drive from here to there, and all I did listen to was the Billy Graham channel on Sirius XM.
Oh, wow.
By the time I got to the end of that drive, for whatever reason, it was almost like a big awakening or a spiritual revival within me, to a point where I was so excited and on fire, like wow, I've had periodic moments like that, but it's been ongoing for the last 2 years now, and I just can't stop. I'm on fire. I'm more in tune with understanding the word, and I'm reaching out more evangelistically. And I just came back from Pakistan,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
so I did a huge 6 day crusade with a bunch of people there, and it's just wild. It's like a different journey. So I can understand where you're coming from. Like you don't even know. Only God could have taken you on this kind of a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. In fact, Peggy and we've teamed up with Pastor Gary and Pam Kellner, who both were at the Tabernacle for 18 years.
Hmm.
They came after, I met Gary in 94, and we're the same age. He's got his PhD, and in fact, he's over in Kenya right now.
Hmm.
Just probably about an hour north of Nairobi, with some of our interns and about 30 other people. So
you do a lot of missions too?
Yep. Yeah, a lot of mission. I personally do local. We do sidewalk Sunday school in one of the areas here. It's called Bywater, and go there on Friday afternoons, and just draw in the young kids, and that has been really a wonderful way to just go in, and because people don't really care what you know until they know that you care.
Right.
And when they know that you really care and they're not a project,
yeah,
they can trust you. They'll open up.
Right.
So that's happening. Wow. in a very sweet way.
So who's you said Kenya, is that the only country right now that you have an extension from your ministry?
Well, Gary also has been in Ukraine for a number of years.
Oh, okay. But that's kind of closed down a little bit.
Yeah, you got to really be careful going there now.
Yeah.
But
wow. Now, did you ever consider going overseas to do a mission trip?
I've been on a couple of them. I've been on.
Okay.
I've been to Egypt twice, Cairo and Alexandria. The second time I went, I spoke at a pastor's conference in Alexandria. You had to do it almost underground. Yeah. We'd limit it to 250 pastors, just because of not getting in trouble. And in fact, when I left, as soon as I got out of there, on that Good Friday, 4 Orthodox priests were murdered, right close to where we were ministering. And this is some serious stuff here that
the day after I left from Pakistan, there's a guy that owns a shoe shop. He's a local, about 2 hours from where I was, that was attacked by a mob of Muslims because his son was accused of desecrating the Quran.
Oh, wow.
Even though there's no evidence of that. So they did arrest 100 people. So, Pakistan's interesting because you got a lot of freedom of religion. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you upset the 95% majority, uh, you're gonna get yourself handed to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not a friendly place. So I understand. Even in Egypt, there's the Arab Spring happened not too long ago, and
Right.
they're part of the Arab League, and they're still Muslim, even though you got some Coptic Christians there. But
Right.
uh, man, yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, we don't really in the U.S. we can't even fathom
No.
how persecution really is. And
No. You can't.
when I hear people say, I feel like I'm being persecuted, I kind of question their idea of what that
Well,
is.
yeah, the perspective is somewhat limited.
It
Yeah.
is, yes, but there's grace and mercy even for the ones that don't have the understanding. All right, so now get back to okay, harvesters. Okay, I also when I left as a student in '86, I had a short time as a youth at the Full Gospel Tabernacle. So
Okay.
tell me a little bit about your relationship with Amy Reed. Was actually my age range, so I was always in
Okay.
youth with her and a bunch of other people.
Okay.
David Bemis's son,
Yeah.
a
Todd.
couple other no
Yeah.
David Jr.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, so there was a plot that was kind of like the late '80s was our group of people for
Sean,
the
I have to
youth.
make a confession right now.
Yeah.
I've done a real rookie mistake. I thought we were going to do this podcast on I thought I was going to do it on my Mac, which I have all charged up. But I'm doing it on my phone, which
It's
is
gonna die.
it's about to die.
It's
So
okay. We're almost done.
okay.
Yes.
I
If it ends abruptly, I improvise. So
good. You're
I'm in
good.
the acting world, so I've learned
That's
how to
right. That's
act.
right. You are. Well, thank you,
Yes.
man.
By the way,
Appreciate it.
October at the Bread of Life, we're doing the Great Lakes Christian Film Festival.
Really? Good.
So
Oh, that's
yes,
awesome.
and this is our 10th anniversary doing
Wow.
in Buffalo. Yes. So
Oh, that's
I try to do what I can for the kingdom's sake. You
yeah.
know, not that God
Yeah.
needs my help, but I do whatever I know to do.
Yeah.
Um. So, anyways, uh, so Tommy Reed, who is he to you at this point?
Well, when down in this was so clear to me. I went to get the paper on a Sunday morning um, in 1977, and I got the paper in my hand, and I heard, "I want you to submit to Tommy Reed as your pastor."
Mm.
I mean, it was one of those. Where in the world did that come from?
Hmm.
So I made an appointment. I'd only been to the tab maybe once or twice. One time to sing with the Lord's Marionettes with Charlie. And I went there and I said, "Pastor," I didn't know how to do it. So I wound up kneeling before his desk. I think I freaked him out a little bit, and I said, "Pastor, I want you to know that the Lord has told me to submit to you, and I'm submitting to you right now, and I'll do whatever you want me to do. If you want me to cut your grass, I'll cut your grass." I wasn't looking for ministry. I didn't know what to do. I'd never done that before. And he said, "You don't have to kneel. You can stand." You can stand. I said, "Yeah." But it was a moment. It was a moment in time, and so I wound up directing the Bread of Life, but also a part-time pastor, doing Sunday school and visitation from the tabernacle, which is a great education, just to watch. I mean, we'd have David Duplessis, we'd have all these Paul Youngie Cho, Juan Carlos Ortiz, revival leaders and people that came out of the 40s, and just the history of it all was just marvelous to partake of that. We've been very, very blessed to do that.
Western New York has been blessed to have Tommy Reed in our midst. I mean,
he's an ambassador of the kingdom.
Even as a youth, he would always invite the youth over to his house, little pool parties,
Yeah.
and they were just Tommy and Wanda are just so loving. They
Yeah.
love people.
They love people.
It's not even like maybe they do, maybe they don't. No, they love people.
They love people, and they love the kingdom.
They sure do. They're devoted, and and they're well connected.
Yep.
They ran along some of the biggest names from, like you said, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Even now, they
Gary
just
Kellner, the Assemblies of God, had Pastor Gary go up to the tab and interview Pastor Tommy. He did it 3 different days, and Tommy's 20 years older than us. He said, and Kellner's got a lot of energy. He said he wore me out. That he captured because Tommy has so much history of church history and in the assemblies that they wanted to get it documented.
You got to get it in segments because there's so much. I know
there is. Yeah.
That's an honor and I hope someday I can get him, because I know he's a busy fellow, but I hope someday I can interview him, because I
have you sent him an invitation?
I haven't done anything yet because I personally have been busy. So
Okay.
If I'm busy, I know he's busy, but I know he would do it if I asked.
He would do
problem.
It. He would do it. Yep, he would do it.
Yeah. So maybe that would be my next project, is to get him.
That I would encourage you to do so.
Yes.
Yep.
I definitely would have to do that in segments too, because he's just full of information. So if your phone does go off, by the way, we're going to do a part 2 of this on the Bread Unlimited podcast.
Okay.
Specifically talking about the Bread of Life.
I will
even though that was a short time, we'll get into more about their details in that history.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to get you on because you're a South Buffalo person, number one. You're an advocate for the Bills everywhere you go.
Yep.
In Annapolis, you have kind of mix between the Ravens and the formerly known as Redskins fan base. Yep. So what's the response there when you wear your Bills gear in that area?
Well, since Josh Allen has come on the scene and the Bills are respectable now, I get way more acknowledgement. They were ambivalent before. They wouldn't even. I mean, one lady in the store said, "You're in Ravens country now." I said, "Well, you're being invaded."
Yes.
And Bills. Being a Bills fan from South Buffalo, I can be a little snarky when I have to be.
Sure.
But and it's all in jest. But they're more Ravens, and they're always trying to say Lamar is as good as Josh. I said, nah, you're dreaming. But
that's debatable. Yes.
I mean, they're different. They're different styles quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But give me Josh Allen all day over Mahomes. I don't care who you're talking about. Give me Josh.
Yep. Yeah, I believe Josh can learn any system.
He can and make it better.
He's only under the McDermott system, but I believe he can learn from any system. And McDermott's kind of like a holdover from the Carolina Panther system, with
and the Eagles. I mean, he was with Andy Reid.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's the defensive guy now. That was a good move, and I really believe with Joe Brady with a fresh start, and with Diggs, I love Stephon when he was here, but it was the right time for him to leave, and I think we're going to bust it out in ways that people are going to be shocked.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
he did one thing McDermott did. He eliminated a lot of the drama. You know what I mean? And if you see all these other players and where they went, they didn't do any better. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a good move for them. It was a better move for us.
And he's a character guy. If you don't have character, you are not going to be long for the Buffalo Bills. If you're a hot dog and you're just looking for glamour,
Hmm.
you won't even get you won't even get a tryout.
Needless to say, Keyshawn Johnson probably wouldn't have lasted.
Nope. Nope.
But yeah, these guys are characters, man. But I love the personality that Josh has. He is definitely a team player. You know,
He's a
Jim
he's not.
Kelly was not as much of a team player, but he was a player. You know what I
He
mean? Like,
he was a warrior.
yeah,
He wanted to be a linebacker at University of Miami.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Kelly still, and now he's a brother in Christ. He's
Yep.
on fire for Jesus, and I love him, and it's great to know that he's changed a lot of his ways. He was pretty arrogant back in the day,
Yep.
but
Yep.
God is good, and he can change things around.
He can do that. He's
Yeah,
good at doing that.
sure. He changed my life a lot of times,
Oh
not just
gosh.
once. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, last question then.
Sure.
What would you say is the most significant highlight to this point of all the memories and all the ministries and even outside of ministry? What is the most significant memory that you can share with somebody?
Oh my gosh, that is a loaded question. Um,
A pivotal moment in your life.
well, early on, it was going to that Jerry Savelle. He had 2 meetings a day for 5 days. He may even have had 3 on Wednesday, but excuse me. But that was dramatic. And then, of course, the call to go to Denver, and then the call to come here. But I don't know if I could just narrow it down to a single moment.
Just the era, at least, the era.
What I got, it's the one we're in right now.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I tell my buddies, first of all, I don't feel 72. I don't think 72. And I said, Lord, I got to hang around at least another 20 years. I mean, I'm following in Maryland and Tommy's shoes, so that's possible. And because I'm just starting to know how to do some of this kingdom stuff. And Peggy and I have a revived passion that the Lord has sort of breathed on us, like in the upper room, receive ye the Holy Ghost. And we feel that fresh wind. And so in his grace and mercy, he's I'm hungrier and more passionate for his presence and to be intimate with him than ever before.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I feel the same way. You know what I
Yeah.
believe, though? I believe it's the timing. Like, there's something different about this era.
It is.
And I felt right after I went back to college, went to UB from 2018 to 2021 December is when I graduated. And I did great, great high honors and all that. And it was all media work is what the whole purpose was, film production, all that stuff. When I came out of that, I was kind of like, now what? Like, am I going to work for Channel 2? Am I going to be in a film company? Or what, And it was just like, God just tell me, just wait for a second, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden in February of 2022, it was almost like God was telling me, okay, this is a new era.
Huh.
And the shifting, the shift, a lot of people use this in Christian kingdom language, the shift.
The shift.
I don't use it in that way, but I felt like in a holy sense, there is a shifting that was happening.
Yeah.
And last 2 years ago, it was right before too the Ukrainian invasion, right before even Russia was even talking about it. But I felt like there was a shifting of something's weird is about to happen.
Yeah.
And I couldn't define it, but as soon as I saw Russia invade Ukraine, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the pivotal moment of the
Yeah.
next season of what is about to happen, first in the natural, but then in the spiritual. And all of a sudden, it woke up in me some things. You know what I mean? Like I started
Yep.
seeing some things. Um, and wow, spiritually speaking, I've grown tremendously. I'm seeing how ripe the harvest is right now.
Big
I,
time.
I, I don't even have to. People are, they're so afraid and anxious that they're looking for the answer.
Yeah. You're
And
right.
before, I would say before that pandemic, man, people were so comfortable and I'm good. It was a lot different back then.
Yeah.
But
You're right.
this time of the world is very different than it was prior to 2020. So it's so much ripe than I've ever seen it. I'm like, and it's so much easier than it's ever been to just share
It
because
really
everybody's
is.
asking.
I've done this, I don't know, hundreds of times where we'll be out in on the marketplace. And if I have an opportunity, maybe at the health club or a restaurant, I'll ask the person I'm talking to, can I ask you a question about Jesus? Oh, yeah, sure. I said, if he came and looked you right in the eyes, he's looking at you saying, come, follow me. What would you say? I mean, there's typically a brief pause. Oh, I'd follow him. I have not had one person say, no, who cares? Not one. And I'm thinking, okay, Lord, we need to really seek your face on how to make you known and make them to know that you care about them individually. Because
Amen.
every one of them, oh yeah, without a doubt. One guy asked me, he said, is it really Jesus? I said, yes, he did not escape from any
Mm.
mental institution. It was really him. I'd follow him.
Wow. That's
Isn't that something?
my approach has been different too. Like I've been so to the point and direct now. Like I don't have
Yeah.
time to ask questions. I just simple as says, hey, guess what? God wanted me to tell you he's got a plan for you. Jesus loves you. And I'll follow up with one or two questions. Do you want to know Jesus or do you want to know the Father? And would you like to be born again? Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I get
Good.
right to the point, and people are like, yes. I'm like, wow, I've never
Isn't it?
expected that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Boy,
5 years
don't be
ago,
surprised.
that wouldn't have been that easy.
Right.
So,
No, you are correct.
man, it's exciting. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
And
It's awesome.
even in Pakistan, it was as much as it's a fearful moment. You could, be attacked at any moment. My hosts were very protective of me, and we had
Nice.
armed guards everywhere I went. But even they, secular type people, were curious as to
Yeah.
what's this all about because they don't see this every day. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
And we've gotten some of the security guards saved and baptized while I was there
Oh, that's
in
awesome.
6 days. It was amazing. I'm like, I says, man, I feel like I can go anywhere and do this. you know. So
A new day.
I know I'm not invincible, but I know that the Spirit of God is moving wherever you go. And
Yes.
if you just apply the simplicity of the gospel, it works. You don't have to try to force nothing.
Nope.
So
Nope.
it's just a new day for me even. So well, Greg, listen, I don't want to keep you. I know you're a busy fella, but I appreciate this time that you've given me. We're gonna
This has
follow
been
this
great.
up. We're gonna
This has
follow
been
it up
great,
with
man.
more information. And then what's on your heart, and do you have like a scripture that's your theme right now?
Um, well, I got several of them, but the one that I go to most frequently is Ephesians 3:20, that he is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you are able to ask or think.
Mm,
And that seems to be what he's doing in
yes,
us.
he
Yeah.
sure is.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Praise God. So, all right, Greg, I appreciate your time, but yes, hopefully, if you come up to visit, maybe we'll do you know, our sit down
Sit
podcast.
down. That'd be cool. That'd be
Yeah,
really cool.
be really fun, and yeah, looking forward to visiting you maybe someday in Maryland. We'll see.
All right.
You
All
never
right.
know.
I'll take you out for a good crab cake sandwich or some good oysters and clams.
Yes, I'm all about whatever's local, so I'll
There you
definitely
go.
dive into that.
Cool.
Great. All right, Greg. Thank you
All
for your
right.
time. God bless you, man, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Amen. Okay, and go Bills.
Yes, sir. Go Bills. Hallelujah.
Yep.
All right. So, as you see, we've had our brother Greg Carr, former Buffalonian, turned um, Marylander. I don't know how they pronounce their words, their names, but so it's just exciting. It was a good time. We had some good fellowship, some good. I'm trying to adjust my thing here, see what my options are. Oh, okay. Anyways, great time. Pastor Greg Carr, as you see, he's been around. He's done a lot of things. Denver with Maryland Hickey. Now he's in Maryland, but he's roots here in South Buffalo, where it's not always warm. Right now it's 83 degrees. We're in the middle of in August. Let me change my virtual background to kind of give you a clue as to how these Buffalo. This is downtown Buffalo behind me on my screen, and the Skyway. The dome is the right up here is the hockey arena where the Buffalo Sabres play. So, but you're seeing like from the Lake Erie view over to the south part of the city, and yeah, we get some decent rain, snow mix. It ices up around here, but I wanted to highlight a former Buffalonian, somebody who has ties to many different strands of ministries that I've been a part of in Buffalo itself. But yeah, I definitely want to get my I would say the fathers in the spiritual sense on with me also eventually. There's two people specifically I want. Tommy Reed is definitely on my list, and Pastor Dave Garcia, who is now retired, but he's in Florida, and he has a show on Thursday nights from his YouTube channel, David A. Garcia. So check that out. He'll be live tonight for those that are watching this live right now. But every other Thursday night, he's tuned in. I want to get him on one of these days, do an interview. But thank you for listening and watching. I just wanted to talk to Greg because Greg, to me, again, we have a lot of history together in different places, but I've never known him well enough, to get into a good conversation. And this was a good introduction for me. And of course, we had to talk a little bit about some Bills kind of thing. We can't not talk about Buffalo things and mention the Buffalo Bills. And they're doing too well with Josh Allen at the helm. And that's all I got. So thanks for listening and watching. Tune in next time. I got so much more things to talk about. And you can always, if you want, you can email, you can call, go on to social media. If you have suggestions, you want to be on the program, you want to be interviewed too, feel free to connect with me and we'll try to make that happen. And I want to get in depth about some other people's ministries. By the way, I do have a GoFundMe that I launched for my Pakistan ministry that I've helped, this past May 2024. And I think I named this show wrong. I put 2014 as the year. I'm going to edit all that later. But anyways, but just a couple months ago, I went to Pakistan and I got a great ministry that I partner with down there. And our church, the Bread of Life, is also helping whatever I can do with them. But I got a GoFundMe, just trying to raise 5,000 through that and go entirely to their ministry. They got a huge team. They reach out to many people in many different places outside of their village. They need a vehicle. These are the needs. They have no personal vehicle. They have no church building. They're all meeting in homes with no roofs, and when it's raining, it's really bad. and moving around when it's in rainy season. They don't have any transportation to pick up people. It's very muddy. The roads get pretty muddy, and motorcycle doesn't usually get it. So I'm asking you to help me raise some funds for a vehicle, a church building. At this point, 50 grand would be great, but I'm just starting off slow with 5,000. And I know there's somebody out there that can provide more money, but if somebody has 100 grand, we are going to do some damage, and that would also include the two other people I work with. So Pastor Danish and his team in Okara, Pakistan, they need a church building. They need transportation. He's going to get married soon too, so we want to make sure he has a place for him and his bride. Secondly, India, Pastor Ravi near Tuni in Andhra Pradesh. I minister to them every Saturday morning, East Coast U.S. time. It'll be like 4:30 in the afternoon their time. So I do a teaching with them and several pastors. He has like 81 pastors that he kind of ministers to. Him and his brother are English speaking as well, so they translate my teaching to the pastors that are in attendance. So we want to help them with transportation to and fro. Money is kind of limited. We want to feed them as much as we can. He wants to run an orphanage. That's one of his things. Pastor Danish doesn't run one either yet, but they would like to. His fiance takes care of widows and orphans. Pastor Danish in Pakistan. Pastor Ravi would like to do the same for schooling. And then also Pastor Evangelist Theophil in Bangladesh. And for those of you who've seen my previous program, Bangladesh is under a very intense situation. A lot of people are losing sleep because there's many attacks against Christians, even Hindus, whatever minority religion is in Bangladesh. It's majority Muslim. India is majority Hindu, and Pakistan's majority Muslim. So Christians are minority in all three countries, throughout the whole region, really. So we're not here to try to eradicate religions. We're here to try to support those that are Christians, that are getting no support. They have lack of resources, lack of funds, and they're the minority in their country. So we want to help them. I'm not going to get graphic about some of the things, but it's not good for a lot of women and young girls. It's unsafe, and they are exploited in many ways. And so we want to protect them as best as we can. Some of them we would like to bring to the U.S. So here in South Buffalo, I don't know how it's going to happen or where, but we do want to have kind of like a central focus for South Asia for our ministry branches in whatever country. I'm not going to try to make it any bigger yet, but if we do have the resources, we definitely want to do that. So if you want to not give through GoFundMe, you can also go to the Bread of Life Church, BOL buffalo.org. You can give there and put in the notes Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, South Asia, or whatever you would like. Put my name down if you would like. And the church takes care of the funding from whatever I'm trying to do outside of the church. So you can give that way as well. Or you can also give to me via, where is it? Cash App or PayPal. So, but also the GoFundMe on my Facebook page. You can also check that out. So, anyways, enough said. Greg Carr, great guest. I'm really happy I got him on and we had a good conversation. And we're going to do a part 2 with him at the Bread of Life Church when we do the Bread Unlimited podcast, whenever I relaunch that. So got a lot of things in the works. Preparing to renovate my house a little bit more, and that's it. So I don't need any funds for me. I'm okay. So anybody trying to understand and is skeptical, you do not need to pay me funds for anything. Anything that you donate, you can put a note as to what you're donating for. Ministry, missions, South Asia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, whatever it is, you can put it specifically for that, and that's what it's going to go to. I don't personally need income at all. I'm doing whatever ministries that I'm doing. That's what the fundraising is for. So I give from my own personal income already, but I need more resources to do more for these people that are my partners, and I'm partners with them. So I will be going to India. Hopefully, I can go to Bangladesh someday. Doesn't look too good at this point. I'd like to return to Pakistan, and we're going to try to also hit up maybe some African, some European countries, and other Asian countries. So we don't know where I'm going to be 1 minute to the next. My father asked me not too long ago, and I'll close with this. He says, "Hey, what are you going to be doing this year?" I says, "I have no idea." I said, "I'm just waiting on the Lord." I says, I could be anywhere. And that's the truth. I could be and do anything at this point. So, last commercial, Great Lakes Christian Film Festival. It's coming up October 17th through the 20th, 2024, right here in South Buffalo. So, you come on out. Everybody come out. So, watch some films, enjoy some networking, be a part of the Christian film community with the people that are coming down. So, that's all I got. Thank you for listening and watching. I love you guys. Miss you. Miss having this podcast. And just stay strong in the Lord.